All right, guys, welcome to Lolz. RikkiDee knows the RBX 88 rule, which is you're not allowed to come on the show unless you've won a Milli Maker. RikkiDee, of course, qualifies.
Hey, I won last night, too.
You won a Milli Maker last night?
Oh, yeah.
A little different.
Yeah, only 11 grand, but, you know.
This is like a Davis Maddock winning the Milli Maker where you chopped it with 400 people?
Yeah.
He chopped it with me, and so...
Wait, you won the Milli Maker too, Brian?
Everyone did.
Wow.
Congratulations. I can't believe that roster. It had like, who was it, Bryn Forbes? I was surprised it was that chopped up.
Yeah, 7% owned. That's a big field for NBA Showdown.
Yeah.
Well, Ricky, I had tried to get you on some of my GPP shows. I think I tried back-to-back years, and then I was ready to throw in the towel, I don't think I was going to come back to the well. I couldn't stomach that rejection. And then lo and behold, you say you want to come on Lolz.
Yeah, you know, maybe you finally broke me. Your content is so overwhelming on the internet that like I can't avoid you. And so I just got like entranced by everything you do. And I think I just finally came around to the idea.
That's what I'm doing. It's just the hypnotism. That's how I got Shane Battier coming on the stream tomorrow. It's just you're just unrelenting. We're stoked to talk to you. I imagine I didn't even know you were a Lolz viewer because you hadn't really interacted with us a ton, but it sounds like you've been watching a decent amount of shows. Yeah,
a few times. I have a bias against pretty much every tout, and especially Brian here has been a rival of mine for years. You just kind of hate every one of your rivals too. So, but then I watched this one you guys had on with the whistles, and I've been intrigued by that guy for a while just because he's just come out of nowhere and starts destroying the games, and I hate him. So I started to listen to it, and I thought it was a hilarious show just because I don't want to say too much about that show, but I just found you guys pretty funny in the way Brian was sort of attacking him. I was like, okay, I kind of respect the way that you guys are running this rather than just like a kind of standard play by, pay by numbers stuff. So, and then I just started kind of catching you guys every now and then. And I was like, all right, these guys aren't so bad. So I'm here now.
I will say, I mean, that's not necessarily how I would have scripted the interview or wanted it to go when we invite someone on the show, but it has now become a cult classic, I would say.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was wondering about that.
I don't know if I would call myself a tout exactly.
No, I don't. Yeah, exactly. But you're a rival, so I kind of just hate all of you.
Did you play poker back in the day?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of an old school boomer type. I played poker in the early 2000s. Sort of, been living the indoor grind life for gambling life for 15 years. I wasn't like hugely successful in poker. I kind of transitioned. Actually, it's kind of funny. Like, oh shit, Domingo German scratch. Yeah, I transitioned to DFS literally like the day of Black Friday from poker. Like, I had been in contact with the guys who now established the run, who came from the poker world as well, and we started like a competing DFS site with this is before DraftKings existed, but so we all just kind of transitioned out of poker around Black Friday, and then was doing this website. It was called Draft Day, and then that we sold that, and then we just kind of became players, and that's the rest is history.
And so you are, I won't dox you, but it does seem like, is that like a backpack behind you? Are you ready to go on the lam if this interview just goes south here?
Yeah, what's it called? A bug out bag, just in case there's like a nuclear threat or something.
Yeah, you gotta when you come on Lolz, anything could happen.
I don't know what that is. It's a cover of some sort.
So I know I've seen tweets from you in the past that you retired from NBA DFS, correct?
Yep, that's right. It's actually kind of bittersweet because I really liked NBA DFS. There's a lot of nuance with the projections. You can really beat people who are just using like, Basketball Monster or whatever, I guess that doesn't even exist anymore. But I just found like the amount of work it ended up being for the results it was just coming way too much, and you just never get a break during the year. So I just kind of hung my whatever up for that. But I do miss it.
Yeah, you put your optimizer in the rafters and you stare at it on the slates. So what is because I'm a DFS poser now. I haven't been playing hardly anything except NFL. What are you? It sounds like you're playing MLB tonight, right?
Yep. I play MLB every day. I love MLB. It's like the purest DFS sport out there. Not much nuance, but it's a fun little ownership game. And then I kind of dabble in golf just because it's, a good gamble, but I've never won anything in it. And football is obviously the number one, but I don't really dabble in too much else. I kind of try to keep my mental health as like stable as possible these days. I'm trying to do less gambling and stuff like that. So that's what's going on.
So, and you've notoriously been, and you've already admitted, very, very anti-tout. Is the tout stuff, is that bee still in your bonnet? Has it simmered down a little bit? Are you more zen now? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm definitely getting on the more zen side. I mean, a lot of like, I've had like a big kind of semi-transformation the past few years. Like the gambling stuff, I kind of feel like was driving me insane. And I was a lot of the times taking it, I just hated touts because I don't know, just there's a lot to hate about them, but I really didn't see sort of the benefit that they were bringing to the industry. And also most of them aren't very good anyways, and they're giving bad advice. So I don't really care about what they do in that regard. The only one I really dislike strongly still is Osmo, because I'm not sure why he's doing what he's doing, kind of destroying the games and just selling all his projections. But other than that, I think most touts I kind of look at as like a kind of dumb buddy from high school that you kind of like, I can kind of get along with now.
But isn't that your two reasons for disliking him? Isn't that having it both ways? Because it's either they're bad touts and they're making players that you could profit off of, or they're touts like Osmo who are making the pool much sharper.
Right. So I'm now shifted my hate just directly to Osmo. And the rest of the touts I'm actually quite happy with because they're pretty bad, and I don't have anything to fear in terms of them ruining the game or anything like that. But yeah, so that's where I stand right now, and I'm kind of buried the hatchet internally about my anti-tout stance.
So really quick here, Jermaine was scratched, but in this Houston-Oakland game that's starting in 2 minutes, you can't switch to them anyways because of the salary difference. So we can worry about it after the show. Did you see any of our shows where we talk about touts and like how me and Pete kind of feel about it? We basically feel the same way.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Like in the terms of like they're not too threatening, but you're not like in love with them.
Oh, I meant Pete and I feel kind of the same way. No, like we don't really care at all. Like if you want to listen to somebody, like, and with a few exceptions, maybe if they're like causing, committing actual fraud, like, I don't know, Vegas Dave, let's say, or
hitting on underage women, stuff like that.
I definitely had a moral objection to a lot of the like aggressive, like, what was that site called with Tommy G and El Jefe? Guru. Yeah, like when they were around and they were just pushing screenshots in your face, and I just knew they were terrible. That was when I really started to get against them. But again, they were giving bad advice, so why should I really care? I had some sort of moral internal struggle with what they were doing. But now that sort of has died down. I feel like that type of thing can't really survive when you're actually giving truly terrible advice and just begging for like screenshots and stuff. So I think we're in a nice little optimal happy medium outside of Osmo.
There's a lot of new sites popping up too, which is kind of surprising to me. But really quick, I want to circle back to poker. With the way you feel about other DFS players is how I used to feel about the other poker players. Like that was my living, and I hated those motherfuckers.
I know those ranks that would just check raise you, like you'd be like, you got nothing and all this. I'm
just trying to think of some Polyballer. Do you remember him? He was
was he
Barry Greenstein's nephew or whatever. And you would see that like 100% of the time. It's like, fuck you, Polyballer. Yeah. Just raised every fucking time.
What was the one guy? Greggy was always the one who killed me. He ended up winning the World Series. I can't remember his name.
Oh, that would hurt.
Yeah.
That would hurt. Yeah. Eventually when guys started like getting on TV and stuff, I'd be like, I remember my brother's ex-girlfriend was like, oh, he's cute. I'm like, no, he's not. He's not fucking cute. It's like, chill out.
Yeah, I think that's why ultimately I was a terrible poker player. I had like very little emotional control, especially back then. And like, I mean, I was decent, but I would just get my B game and C game was just terrible. But with DFS, there's so much less of that like in your face, like emotional requirement that I think that people like me are much more suited towards it.
Me too. I was the same way. I don't, but I don't care that much. The whistle goes woo is kind of pisses me off.
I know.
Clearly, Brian.
Yeah,
we've been doing this a long time, but not nearly like it was with poker and with Alex. Like I like Alex. Obviously, we have him on the show and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I really do wish he would give away shitty information. I
know. I've met him a bunch of times. We were like somewhat a colleague, I suppose. We've had a little bit of a rift here and there, but we've talked a lot at live finals, and he's obviously a really nice guy. I mean, I think I really do think he kind of wants to just help people, get better, or, like imagine that. So, I can't really hate on him too much for doing that, but I kind of just wonder what is really going on there.
I think if you swing $1 million enough times, you'll be like, maybe I should start a business.
Yeah, I mean, and he was so smart to like leverage his number one ranking. And right. I was wondering how much that played into what he was doing. Like, how long is this going to last? Like, I might as well do it. And I mean, yeah, obviously the guy's like brilliant at DFS. So I'm not going to, I can't say too many bad things about him.
And I think there's like probably two versions of like the tout thing, right? Where there is the like, I'm bad at DFS, and so I need to legitimately buoy my income with this additional, stream here. Or in the case of Alex, like you get so bored with maybe the monotony of DFS, and you're like, let me tackle a new challenge. Let me build a business, scale a business.
He is the biggest enigma in the DFS world. Like I see him doing these tout shows. Like it'll be like Sunday morning, which is like, he's probably got like 400 grand in action or something, right? And for me, I'm still tweaking. I'm still like, I'm playing both sites, high stakes, low stakes, small entry, big field, all these different things. Oh, ownership. Oh shit, there's new weather, whatever. He's there 30 minutes before lock. Like there'll be a scratch. I've seen him just like, all of a sudden his rosters are updated. I'm like, and he's still live touting the show. I'm like, the guy, I have no idea how he manages this, but he's obviously got like an incredible algorithm and probably team of people like working for him. And, that's probably that's a big part of it. I think he is somewhat bored of DFS and he just wanted something else.
There's also a nice benefit with a team that is incentivized through the business.
Yeah.
So like, for example, for like when I hire people to help me, I do it on like Upwork or something like that. Those guys can fuck me.
Yeah. Yeah. They have no skin in the game.
They have no skin. They don't know me. If, I can give them a bad review on Upwork. Like, so what?
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, you hire people who barely speak English and they don't know who the hell I am. So, but like, if you have a team that's, maybe got a few points in the business and stuff like that, it actually can benefit your DFS game, even though you're giving away a decent amount of your edge. Plus, you're looking for that 100x, 200x payday.
Yeah.
In the gambling world. I mean, I haven't talked to Alex about this directly, but I'm assuming as soon as like sports betting is in the picture, it's like, okay, and we can make shit ton here.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much he was like foresight there. But
I can't imagine 100x, 200x isn't in his brain. It's a big part of it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I honestly feel like his primary goal was like, he kind of I kind of think he likes being like a sort of in the spotlight, a tout, talking sports. I mean, I think a lot of touts like who get into what you guys are doing, they have that in them generally, like maybe they want to make money, maybe they want to, help people out. But like a big part of it is sort of just being like a personality and like having some sort of clout. And I think given Osmo's tweets and just the way that he communicates and like, he's obviously trying to, generate some sort of, buzz and interest. And I think he kind of likes being that guy because I know he's had other guys he worked with, like DFS players who weren't that sort of face of the business. So Yeah, I think there's a couple things going on with him. I wouldn't necessarily pin it totally on profits.
Well, obviously, a spectrum of reasons. 5% here, 10% there. Come on, I'm not gonna. You know how I think, but like I'm sure. Like, well, his first streams, he was really nervous and stuff. I'm not sure how much he wanted to be in front of the camera. I mean, like a lot of people try to hire. I'm assuming. Same with you. They try to hire you for their site. Like you get offers and stuff like that. Yeah, and one common thing I've heard through multiple places is like, why do all the professional gamblers want equity in the company and not a high salary? It's because they're all gamblers. They want that 100x. He's a gambler. He played poker too, not professionally, I don't think, or maybe it was professionally. I don't know. So he's a gambler too. I'm sure he thinks that part of that is in there.
For sure. Obviously,
we'll find out.
The thing that's funny too about like Osmo's Twitter presence is like, sure, could he hire someone to do quote unquote marketing for Osmo? Yeah, he could. But like the brand is Osmo. Like the marketing is his quirky personality. It is those tweets. So like he almost necessarily has to be the marketing arm on Twitter as well.
Yeah. And that's interesting. That's sort of how the DFS, like the tout industry has sort of evolved. Like you see all these guys sort of like getting big scores, like, big T, LFA, and then they start their site almost immediately after to like, take as much leverage out of that score. And they try to just be that personality that's driving all the marketing. And it's kind of the only way that it would work, because otherwise, if you're just like sort of like a faceless, nameless grinder who, with not much personality, not much winnings, like what kind of site would actually catch on it?
Yeah, you're having to sell this idea that there's special sauce, that you have this secret that everyone else doesn't know, and if you come behind. But then I think we've also seen a new wave of this where, and we could talk about it as it relates to these NFT communities too, where people just like feeling a part of the tribe. There's like the Barstool-esque tribalism of like, I want to have my Saturdays are for the boys flag in front of my house. I want to have my, Run Pure avatar on the sites. Like people just want that shit.
Yeah, and they get that little retweet and that's little attaboy from the site owner, and that's all it's all about.
I think there is a little like a little cognitive dissonance in some of these things. Honestly, like if we could kind of take our expertise and biases out of it. Like if someone was on a cooking show on TV and then started a cutlery company and leveraged it off of that, no one would blink an eye. There's a lot of this stuff too with like, if you monetize your career like Pete's doing or something like that, people will give you shit, but it's like, but they'll sit and listen to Joe Rogan read 10 minutes of ads before 100 minutes. I like Joe Rogan. I'm not saying anything, but if you fucking like put an ad on your podcast or something, like you fucking sell out. What the fuck? You know what I mean? I feel like that, like in such, we're so like heavily involved and know so much about this stuff that it, like you might give a little where you wouldn't taken out of context.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's been a big part of my like sort of DFS personal growth journey, is like recognizing that a lot of things are successful. And even like for a long time, I couldn't even understand why people would play certain plays. Like I couldn't get in their head. And like, I think we get lost in our own little bubbles and like your little, chat groups and stuff about what's optimal. And then you start thinking like everyone's thinking like that. And then you get all cynical about people who don't. And like this, when the tout world evolves that you don't understand, it sort of just becomes this weird like disconnect between your understanding and reality. And I think being a good DFS player, any kind of gambler, is really coming to terms with the whole spectrum of the industry that you're in, and understanding that people are different than you, and that it's very often very different than you, and understanding those differences is the key.
Yeah, and as Carl says here in the chat, DFS, lonely grind. It's fun to commiserate and celebrate with other people. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Brian, or you, RikkiDee, but like I assume partly, Brian, why you wanted to do this show with me, over a year ago, was this same idea. Like it is probably very lonely to be at your desk, all this stuff all the time. Ricky, I'm sure the reason you're on here is you want to shoot the shit and actually.
Exactly. I was literally like, well, these guys actually, I kind of just like the natural flow of what you guys are doing. And yeah, the worst feeling in the world is like when you're going through a downswing and, maybe you could complain to one guy or another, like, oh my God, if this guy got a home run, I would have won, and blah, blah, blah. No one gives a shit. Like literally, even your best DFS friends, they'll give you like, oh, damn, but they don't understand that pain, and you're living through it day by day and you got to get through it and wake up. It's the loneliest, saddest existence when you're going through a gambling downswing. And yeah, like having these sort of outlets to commiserate is that guy nailed it on the head. It is just, that's a very good benefit.
You just said though, right before that, you were in a chat room. Is there a secret RikkiDee chat room?
No, have your own Discord, Ricky?
No, just a couple guys I talk to, just like shoot like ideas off of for projections or whatever.
There you go. Collusion.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and so what is do you still make your full-time living playing DFS? Do you have any other kind of gambling endeavors you're mixing in, or are you still full-time DFS?
I'm a full-time Dogecoin trader now.
Yeah, how's that going?
I'm just kidding. But I did get into all that bullshit in the off season, and I really hate myself for it almost. But yeah, no, DFS is still my primary. Like I kind of alluded to earlier. I mean, DFS has been like very good for me, and but I've been getting away. I've been trying to again come to terms with like the sort of overall mental health like existence that gambling is, and like I just said about the loneliness and the sadness and all that. I'm really trying to get out of that world and just have it in the background, little fun gambles here and there, not like mortgaging my future on. And then I've been doing some like real estate on the side, getting into just like healthy lifestyle, getting out there, walks, hikes, that type of stuff. Just trying to like reinvent myself sort of.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
It sounds like people are having a problem watching the stream. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Mine's working, but yeah, try refreshing.
It sounds like maybe a YouTube thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It seems like it's working, so who knows?
Okay.
So real estate.
Yeah.
Are you into this whole thinking about, are we in a bubble? What's inflation? What's going to happen with inflation? Do you think about these things at all?
Yeah, I'm into that world for sure. I mean, it was impossible to escape in the the pandemic. Everyone just became a crypto trader. Everyone became a stock trader. Everyone's like trying to fight inflation, and I went down that path too. I even bought a fucking dinosaur. I got into the the crypto as some sort of hedge, but like whatever. We made our little money there, and I think it's like it was a pretty crazy little ride there we all went through. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, I'm very much thinking of those things in the background.
Do you have a thesis? What's going to happen? A guess?
Personally, I actually think the inflation, meme is a little overblown in the sense that like everyone pretty much assumed that there was going to be this massive. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pontificate as if I'm some economist, but
that's my job.
Yeah, I think what we ended up seeing in terms of the real inflation that came through so far versus like what everyone expected, like 20, 30, 40% or something, like that hasn't really materialized yet. And I think most people who are very, unsophisticated are going at it from a very uneducated angle. So I think there's probably a little bit, there's not a lot of edge chasing the inflation game anymore.
Yeah.
Got Taylor KB in the chat saying it's actually deflation season.
Yeah, Taylor and I are good buddies. We talk about this all the time. He's a big deflation guy.
If it wasn't for Taylor, since he's watching, if it wasn't for Taylor KB, I wouldn't be here. 100%.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah, he took us down that poker.
I watched his video, one of his first videos, and it was like a free one. He was doing like promotion right when they first started, and he was playing heads up, and he refreshed. Right, he like lost a hand. You know how you auto refresh and top off. He had like 30 grand or something. Yeah. Maybe 40 grand, and I was like, "You could make 40 fucking grand."
Yeah, I just remember him like raising like Queen suit 7 suited from the cutoff. I'd be like, "Holy shit! People are crazy!" Like I'm totally missing this game. And he definitely started to get my mind into it.
He 3-bet without aces.
Yeah, exactly.
This maniac.
Yeah.
What was he was live streaming all of his poker sessions?
No, he would record them and then commentate over them, and then he would give away some for free for promotional reasons, I believe. This is a long time ago, guys, too.
Yeah, so this was like early 2000s. But Taylor will say himself, like in similar vein to Osmo, he'll say that, he might not have done that knowing the eruption of training sites that he would have caused and basically led to the downfall of poker because he obviously benefited from it, but he still has his, gripes about how it all went down in terms of how, kind of ruining poker in a way.
Right. I mean, but there's also it's eventually going to happen. It could have been somebody else instead of him. And I mean, he helped me. So there's a lot of guys who made a career out of it that otherwise wouldn't have, so I don't know. I think that's kind of tough to gauge, exactly.
And we had that same conversation recently about the Bales Top Shot article, and I think it was the same thing. It was probably bad for Top Shot, but it was inevitable. It was going to be someone else that blew it up. He just happened to expedite everything very quickly.
Yeah, what's your take? I mean, I obviously I think we all found out about Top Shot the same day, and it's it seemed like it literally went from nothing to 15x within a week because of that Bales article. But I mean, I don't know what was driving what there, but that was an incredible.
I was thinking about that yesterday. I caught a little club Top Shot, and I'm like, I think it was all us. Our fucking group, all the gamblers drove that entire explosion. Seriously, I bet we were 90% of it.
I mean, I would get. I don't know if I'd probably take the under on that, but really high. Because
I was exaggerating a little bit, but 50% maybe.
Yeah, probably.
I agree with it because the cardboard bros were wanting to dig their heels in. They didn't want to admit this was the next big thing. The NBA fans still aren't here yet. All the NFT Top Shot guys are just speculators and people who like crypto. And then it was all of the DFS and sports betting gamblers who were it clicked immediately why this was the future of digital sports cards. And then they just went so hard.
MBL was saying on your show, he's we gotta market to the casual NBA player. No, you don't. You want us. We're the ones with dumb money. You know what I mean, and willing to gamble and blow this market up to get all the normies interested in this free EV and shit.
And it's all about and you can start showing your huge bankrolls, just like it worked with poker, and just like it worked with DFS. You need us the hardcore guys to get involved first, and then it needs to blow up with some sort of black swan type event, like the moneymaker thing or whatever it was, in Bale's article and something like that really catches fire once it's established among the community.
LeBron does something would help. If
Ricky, do you own any NFTs, any Top Shots?
No, actually, I pretty much had not a moral objection, but I just thought things were getting so carried away with I was big into crypto. I really believe in crypto. I think it's very fundamental need for society. By the way, Brian, I just wanted to shout out libertarianism. That's that.
They're the unofficial sponsor of this show. Libertarianism in general.
Free market. Yeah.
Voluntarism. How about voluntarism?
Okay. Big crypto guy. That's naturally my wheelhouse. But then when the NFT stuff started coming up, I just I balked a little bit because I just thought it was so stupid. And even though to my financial loss, I don't care. I'm never going to. And then I just see a line in the sand. I'm I made this mental adjustment in my head. I'm I can't keep chasing whatever the shiny new object of making money is on the internet. I've made some money on the internet. It's not the healthiest way to live. And I just saw the same pattern that I was doing with poker that I did with DFS and crypto. And then it was NFTs. And then it's, what was the other thing people were getting into there briefly? Anyways, but
DeFi.
Yeah, DeFi. Exactly. It was DeFi. And I'm I just don't need another. I call it CTE, for gambling, eventually all this shit, it's so stressful. And it's not a healthy lifestyle. Nothing is going to come good of this in 40, 50 years to our brains. And we're going to be sitting there with a pile of money and no life experiences and no fun. And I decided to shift away from all these new, free money things. I don't care if I could make 5x my money on the new LeBron Hollow or whatever the fuck it was. And I said I'm gonna just get focus on getting healthy and get outside and figure out like a new way to live.
Yeah. I mean, that was like last year. I had like a busy NFL season, before the COVID era, and I took off like February through June, and like I was so refreshed. My routine was like locked in. I was reading like 10 books a month. Like it was just so great. And then this year it was like, oh, Top Shot and NFTs popped up, and I just like continued my bad habits like all through the off season.
Of course, and I don't blame anyone who did.
On the CTE idea. So I just think of it as like an obsession, problem, obsessive. But it's like a double-edged sword, because if you don't have that in you, opinion, I don't know, if you don't have that in you, you're not gonna make it. And enjoy it. Yeah. Because they have it. Whatever the fuck it is, CTE, gambling CTE, obsession, maybe a little spectrum-y. And they're smart. And they're tough, and they'll work, and they're young, and they're single. Well, so like if you don't have this shit, like good luck.
But that's what makes you guys successful too. You have that kind of completist, obsessive mentality. It's the people like Osmo who are able to continue to do that at scale, where you're like, how the fuck? Like I can be obsessive about one or two things. How do you do it about 10 things?
We're not sure he's a person, first of all. Possible android. Rumor has it. But I get your point.
Yeah. So what things did you do, Ricky, to find a little bit more of a work-life balance?
Grew this mustache. That was the first decision. I live in BC, which is like the most beautiful place in the world. It's just tons of outdoor activities. So I just basically, once like the weather got a little better, I just got my bike, started hiking, started walking, started listening to a lot of like off the grid podcasts, people like living extraordinary, like strange lives. I started to get in this idea of like, I started to talk to people like in real life, which is crazy. Like it'd be, anywhere. And then just get this idea that this thing will serendipitously happen. My new path in life that isn't going to be like inside locked on my computer getting CTE anymore.
Yeah.
You already had CTE. You already had CTE. You already had CTE.
I know. I just want to avoid like the worst case scenarios for CTE at this point.
One thing too is the times are a little different. So like in 2011, Black Friday, I had to eventually realized poker wasn't coming back. I was naive back then, right? I'm like, no, they're gonna have poker tomorrow. Because you know what I mean? Why wouldn't they want to make money, right? That's logical. That's the way this stuff works. Like a total. So I like for like a year, I'm sitting there, and then I still have the same monthly bills as a professional poker player, which is a lot. You're just blowing through. So when I got a real job, it's like shit.
Oh, you got a real job.
Poker player. I have a degree. I have a little bit more experience years ago. You know what I mean? And like people. I think like half of them thought it was cool, half of them didn't.
What, that you played poker?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And like it really depended on the person too. So like for like young guys thinking about this type of lifestyle, like you definitely have to consider that shit can go wrong. Now it's not going to be illegal. We have that, but it might be unbeatable. And speaking of libertarianism, the regulation like that they have, like it might make the competitive market so weak that we just can't beat it anymore.
I mean,
maybe they'll start booting us.
I mean, I'm surprised they haven't, honestly. Like when we were running our little DFS site and we saw like that there was significant profit to be made by some guys. Like we had Condi on our site and we're like, holy shit, this guy's actually making decent money. We're like, why don't we kick him off? He's doing nothing for our ecosystem. Like it's literally just he deposited $100 and now he's cashing out 10 grand every month. We're like, okay, well, this is bad. I'm surprised the sites haven't really, because poker started kind of doing that. They took away a lot of the VIP programs. They weren't really too friendly to the guys who were significantly big winners. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure why they're so friendly to some of the big winners in DFS, because the weird thing about DFS is it's so scalable, and the guys who are winning, like I mean, I do a lot of opponent research. I watch guys like a hawk. I watch up and comers. I watch guys who are falling off. I want to see what's going on with the trends. And like the guys who are winning significant amount of money is far and few between. But they're winning a lot, right? I think everyone kind of knows this, but from a site's perspective, I just don't understand how these top players are really providing much value.
Would it? I haven't done that much research. You think, let's say it got rid of the top 0.1%, whatever that number is.
Yeah, I can name like 5 guys.
Would it just drop down?
What would? Oh, like, yeah.
To the next 5?
Like, yeah, like in this week, look at the PGA field this week. You take all the studs out. Now Berger is like the ultimate, right? So like we took all so that would probably happen. But I think the threshold of the marginal difference between the up and comers and sort of the field will, I mean, it'll eventually work its way back up, but it would probably help.
Maybe. But I mean, I don't know. The Rahm 2 weeks ago has the same winning percentage essentially, at least in my stuff, as Berger does tomorrow. So
yeah, it's great. Yeah,
it does kind of work itself out like that. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Here's my guess. If they do go down this road, is pay attention to FanDuel. Because to me, they seem like they're really going down the sports book model. Yeah. I don't know if you guys agree with this at all. Like, I think that's part of the reason their DFS product has been so shitty the past however long now.
10 years.
But yeah, it seems like, I don't know, I'm getting like a real they're doing these what's the Grand Slam bonus thing tonight? Yeah. I don't know if you're still playing on FanDuel.
Yeah. They got bought by Paddy Power or whatever, and they're just implementing a lot of the sort of weird gimmicky things that they do. I mean, I've read this. I mean, they've been neglecting their DFS product for a long time. I mean, DFS at the end of the day is not going to be the meal ticket. It was sort of just a gateway into the gambling world, I believe, for a guy just looking for a sweat. And now, I mean, I'm pretty bearish on the industry in general. I think that a lot of the casual guys, maybe NFL will I just don't see a casual guy playing like baseball every day, but he could just bet on the game. Like, why not? Like, building a roster is tough.
And that was the same reason why I think Top Shot pumped so hard too, is there was a lot of guys who can't regularly beat DFS games that were like, wait, I can just buy a Top Shot moment and it just only goes up. This is hell of a lot easier than playing NBA DFS each night.
I think this is a little bubbly again. Like, I know like my brothers throw in a lineup every blue moon. My mom throws in a lineup. But not everyone is as comfortable sports betting as we are. You know what I'm saying? Like those numbers are scary to a lot of people. Like, what does minus 175 plus 3.5 mean? I have no clue what that means. And I've been trained by the media and so forth and the Puritans that you can't beat casinos. Yeah. Right. So it's like, I'm scared of this fantasy football thing I do on, my buddies play every weekend, So like, I don't know. I don't know. Like I think you can still get a whole bunch of casuals who are scared of sports betting like the other way.
Yeah. Little do they know they have way less of a chance in DFS, but okay.
Well, no, that's not true because you have zero chance in regulated sports books because they will ban you. They will limit.
Okay. You mean like long term? I mean, most of these things they're looking for a quick hit, quick win here and there.
I'm making a side point. I agree with you. Yes. You'd much rather just bet $100 on the Bears game or something.
I think there's also a psychological difference between both a casual DFS player and a casual sports bettor. The casual sports bettor just wants sweat equity while watching the game. A casual DFS player thinks they have like, oh, I know this guy's going to be great. Like DFS allows that casual player to feel smart before the scores are ultimately tabulated because then they get crushed. But in the moment, they feel like, oh, I know something that my opponents don't. So I feel like the motivations are a little different.
Yeah, you might be right. The target market might be slightly different. There's probably some crossover. I mean, this was a big discussion when we were like, the industry was up and coming, and we're like, is this going to be like when draft? Like, we didn't really ever think DFS was going to be as ubiquitous as it became. Like, DraftKings and us, we started as like the same, and DraftKings was offering like $5,000 prize pool guaranteed, right? And that was sort of the industry standard. And I remember when it became like 100K, we're like, holy shit, like where's this going? And then DraftKings just got all this investment money and made these million makers and really created something, which is impressive. But I'm just amazed that they got casual people to actually devote time to creating rosters and doing all this research. And, it's a really tough thing for a casual guy. And then, but maybe you're right. Maybe there's just enough of those guys out there who are like, oh, fantasy football is cool. They start clicking buttons and they're like, yeah, I got a roster now, Maybe that's just how it ended up going.
And don't you think too, because there's been this thing like for a while now, it's almost a meme like, oh, when sports betting gets here, like all the content's going to go to sports betting. And are the content providers and the touts just stubborn, or do they just love fantasy football? Because still, like, there's no good sports betting content out there. Like, there is actually decent DFS content out there. It's like the DFS guys don't want to make sports betting content. It's not fun to make.
It's less interesting. Yeah, it's not interesting. There's no like. It's just like, oh, you guess a coin flip right, great. Like that's not very like engaging. You know what I mean? Like there's probably ways to do it. I mean, I'm not a big sports bettor, but the DFS world is just so much more dynamic and interesting.
Yeah.
That maybe it'll never go.
Yeah, and like what can you have to, like, in sports betting you have to teach them to fish. You know what I mean? Really, that's like the only good stuff, and they do not want to give that away. Like if you ever try to beat sports betting, especially back in the day, man, it's hard to get any tips from the sports betting community. I kind of have this chip on my shoulder that I've been thinking about with the sports betting community lately, of like how they go hard at touts and stuff like that, just like the whole way they look at it. We did a show, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, where we talked about Spanky's tweet about, it's okay for them to limit you on props and stuff like that. And like the whole thing to me, like sports betting, the more I think about it, is just fucking lame. Like I don't want to play this cat and mouse game. Like I don't want to make 10 accounts and then, one of them gets caught and they confiscate the money.
I know. What's that guy? What's that Rufus Feebody guy who he has a podcast? He's talking about the most exhausting line, shit ever. The edge should not just be line shopping and getting mules to make your bets. Like, what kind of life is that? And I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and then they'll shit on people selling picks, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it, fine. I hate touts too, whatever. I don't care. Like, I think you should be able to spend your money however you want. But what do you expect someone to do? Like, okay, I mean, I can fucking sell picks. You know what I mean? I don't, but I could figure it out and sell picks, and that would be better than me having to do this whole cat and mouse game and getting limited and like, hey, mom, I need your social security number to make an account on Bet Rivers. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck?
If she's already making DFS lineups, it might not be that hard of an ask, Brian.
But ultimately, for me, it comes down to I'm watching. I listen to all those guys like Spanky and Rufus and everything. I'm like, is this really like what? I mean, I have this is sort of an anti-gambling stance, but why? First of all, these guys feel so entitled to them making a living off the casino or these sports bets, right? And it's and they have to go through all these hoops and everything, and it's just how much resistance do you need where this isn't going to be worth it? And I just feel like a lot of these guys get lost in this romantic idea that I'm working for myself and I'm making all this money or whatever, and it gets worse and worse and worse as the cat and mouse games increase, and and the edge gets smaller, and it's just, but then they're like frog in a boiling pot of water, and it's just I don't know. I just look at that. I just have such disdain for that lifestyle at this point. I'm just you got to get out, and we got to do something a bit better with this life.
It's funny you say that too, because that's the whole, like you said, it's romanticized of doing this, you sports betting, gambling for a living. And yet a lot of the things you said, running around town, having the mules, that's very, equal to getting sucked into the grind at a corporate job, and you're doing all the stuff you don't like, but because it has this cool title, it somehow seems better. But it's no, you're doing the same fucking grunt, demeaning manual labor as you would be in an office.
Yeah, it's not the edge. It's not a lot of these guys, the edge just becomes that, right? It just becomes optimizing that procedure. I read about these guys who literally they'd be betting in Vegas, their only job was to just line shop, and they'd get 0.5 equity, whatever, of lines here and there. I don't even know, sports bettor, but they didn't even care about the outcomes of the game. They didn't care about knowing, giving their own takes on what was going to happen. Their entire existence was based off line shopping and finding these arbitrage spots. And it's just I just don't know how proud of you are of living that lifestyle, right? Where's you in that? You know what I mean? It's just, you're just skimming off of some, thing that you can just It just doesn't seem very rewarding.
I think crypto's even worse because crypto, it's like, I got in early.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Like, what the fuck? You gambled on something. You had nothing to do with this NFT. You had nothing to do with it. You got in early, and people are fucking proud of you for some reason. But here's one reason. Like, I totally agree with you. Just the idea of like, come on, guys, we have to do something else. Like, it can't just be all inside gambling and stuff like that. I'm totally on the train. It's hard for me too because of poker, because I'm still like, scared that it'll all go away.
Oh, I know.
Broke again, or I don't even get a real job.
We have post-traumatic stress syndrome in our head.
PTSD.
Now you guys have CTE
for how many years? What'd you say, Pete?
Now you have CTE to go along with the PTSD. Just to
mentally use these terms.
I know. It's just a colloquial term that me and my buddies have come up with. Is like, it's not even a joke. Like, we actually feel like we've lost many, many brain cells and memories because of this. So I think there's something to it. But
oh yeah.
And that's the whole irony, right? They always say, money buys freedom. You're looking to this lifestyle for freedom, but it's actually the thing that just tethers you to your desk nonstop.
Well, and actually go get a real job for 6 months, like a shitty one where your boss is a fucking asshole, but you can't leave because you have a mortgage and a kid or something. Like, and then you'll be like, you know what? Maybe being tethered to my chair isn't gambling for a living isn't that bad.
Yeah, I know it really is. There isn't a great way to make money in this world. Like, nothing comes for free. Right? Like, I actually was embarrassed about how much money because I did get in early in some of these cryptos, and I was just like, I was waking up sometimes like, I'm going to end up making more money in these bullshit cryptos that I did in like the things I actually like had passion for. It's like, it is a weird thing when that happens.
Yeah, but that's all there's a lot of subjectivity there. Like, you could put a ton of work into digging a hole, or a ton of work into making a painting, and you're probably gonna make more money digging that fucking hole. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe the painting will take off.
Dude, it is. I was thinking about this very specifically to some of the things I've been doing. So I have the man's character NFT, which like all that work is done. Like, when I sell that, it's so easy. I just ship it off. And then I've been doing these randomizer merch boxes where I put together all these different things. I set up a store. My margin is literally like $6 on these boxes. And I'm putting so much time into it to make these work. And it's seriously just someone buying the random NFT, which the like ROI is just literally like 10 times as good, even more than that. But it goes back to that thing. It's like, you can't, I don't know. It's not how life works, where the rewards don't always match the sweat equity that goes into it.
Oh, for sure it doesn't. But
can I do a little rant here?
Yeah,
a little rant here, just really quick for the commies out there. So money. We're, you know what I mean? Okay, we're talking kind of about money here. Money is the root of all evil is one of the dumbest fucking commie bullshit propaganda statements. Okay, money is a means for exchange. That's it. It's like saying, okay, we'll get rid of money, and you and Ricky has a bunch of lumber, and I have a bunch of chicken eggs, and we want to exchange them, and then one day he doesn't want to, right? And so I have to go to Pete and then give him chicken eggs and get his whatever product he has. It's just the representation of the amount of work and effort and time you've put in, and it's just a medium exchange. Okay, so like, there's nothing wrong with wanting a lot of of lumber for your lumber company, right? There's nothing wrong with a lot of money for your DFS bankroll, right? There's really no difference. Now, there might be some difference for getting money for a side of whether this is like a productive way to spend your life. Are we contributing to society at all? And things like that. That I'm fine with. But like this whole, oh my God, money, we bring money involved, it automatically checkmark, then it's evil. It's like, no. Fuck you guys. Like, money is of exchange.
Yeah, no, money, I'll take it a step further and say that money is often a signal that something is actually productive for society. Things don't occur. Money isn't exchanged unless a productive, outcome is achieved. That's sort of the fundamental theorem behind paying for something, right? Both people benefit. So, I think it's just more or less, money isn't evil, but just like people more or less are.
Yeah, I guess. I'm more in the rational self-interest boat.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
100%.
the butcher doesn't put food on your table because he likes you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's how most people act throughout society.
Yeah,
In their own rational self-interest. And we all benefit.
Right. When I say things like, like this, like sort of money chasing lifestyle of gambling is like, unproductive. I don't think like the money chasing aspect part is the unproductive part. I think just like the time spent in front of the computer and like not necessarily learning too much. Like Pete, you said like something about your NFTs and the little box thing you're doing. Like I actually kind of like dig that type of stuff because first of all, you're exposing yourself to a whole new realm of possibilities of what this is and what people like. And just like now you're involving yourself in a supply chain and you're going to get experiences that like are going to give you some new perspective, right? And it doesn't even necessarily matter how much money you're making. It's mostly just about that new idea entering your mind, getting exposure to different things and running with that.
It 100%, like both of those things, like, the learning about how to do that. I've learned so much with all this, like I have my first time having a Shopify store and learning how to do the labels and the fulfillment, understanding how all this stuff works. And I'm like, I'll probably end up losing money on this first one, but I will learn so much that it will be probably a profitable experience in the long term. Yeah,
that's a great perspective. That's why I'm here today. It was like, obviously, I'm not making money from this, and that's not something I even plan on leveraging in any meaningful way. But just talking to you guys and just doing something different for the day, I just thought was meaningful enough where I could, benefit it from somehow intangibly in the long run.
Would you upload your consciousness to like a computer that would give you the exact sensations you're looking for?
Isn't that what we already did into this life?
And maybe we already are there. Who knows? But
yeah, I definitely would. I mean, I don't see any reason. Like, there's certain people who have this like angle, like, oh, I never want to live forever or something like that. I'm like, I'm not sure if nothing's deteriorating and nothing's getting worse. Why do you want to kill yourself? Why would you want it to arbitrarily end?
Yeah.
Well, Brian, I remember because, Ricky's been talking about finding more of that balance, getting outdoors, unplugging from the matrix. I was teasing you about not going on vacations. What is like in your head with this stuff? Is it like you just genuinely don't like those things, or are you worried to lose a step on the competition, on that thing in the back of your head? This could all go away and I don't want to lose a step.
It's a combination of CTE and that PTSD, and I don't want to lose a step. And and I'm like, shit, FOMO a little bit. It's a lot of all the things you'd think, honestly. It's hard for me to not play.
I'll second that thing about not losing a step. And it's the exact same reason when poker went away. And actually, I treated poker much more cavalier than I did with DFS. I was just pretty much assuming that the edge, I hadn't gone through that period of like boom and then bust and then the edge disappears and then like it gets way harder. Like I'd never done that before. So I just always assumed that poker would be like this thing that was really easy and beatable. But with DFS, because that happened with poker, with me and, it got a lot harder and I lost money and then it disappeared. With DFS, I'm exactly like Brian in that way, where it's like I've been like kicking my own ass every day, like studying my opponents, making sure that, every day my rosters make sense, like getting into the nitty gritty of my algorithms and my spreadsheets and just making sure there's no fucking spelling mistakes and anything that like shows up in my roster that I'm like, why? I wouldn't build a roster like that if I, and like all these types of things I'm constantly refining because of that exact reason. And it's like a trap in a way because you really can't compete, especially at a high level, without that devotion.
Yeah, that's the paradox of wanting to be the best at anything, like the sacrifices you have to make to get there. And sometimes those sacrifices have, less, mental health, implications than others.
Yeah, I'd really like to talk to someone who's like, I haven't seen a lot of success stories in the gambling world in terms of like guys who went hard with the grind. And like Osmo is a great example of someone again, cyborg, android, whatever, but he seems like the one guy that's sort of fading all these problems because a lot of the guys who've been in Osmo's position, Kandia, Sahil Sood, there's the list goes on. They've gone to like they've moved to the Mojave Desert and like lost their mind a little bit, and I don't really know how he has avoided that, but like it doesn't seem to be a lot of people who are able to get to the highest level and then walk off into the sunset or just maintain it without driving themselves insane.
I always think of those guys as like the 2001, 2002 poker players on ESPN.
Oh, for sure.
How they were good. And it's like, wait, whatever happened to that guy? Probably nothing great.
Yeah.
I think they retired with a lot more money than a lot of those poker players. I think almost all of them went broke.
Yeah, because like those types of guys who get to that level early are always convinced that they're like some sort of God-given poker talent or whatever, and they never really see the blind. They have too many blind spots.
Yeah, I think that has to come with age too. Like, when I was younger playing poker, I was like, no, this is never going to end. Of course, you don't be silly. This is going to go on forever. It's like, oh no, it won't.
Yeah.
So we only have a few more minutes here left with Ricky. Although Ricky, you have an open invite to swing by whenever you want to chop it up. But I'd be remiss if I didn't let Brian give you the whistles go woo treatment. Brian, you want to put him under fire here about his DFS process?
Well, all right. He said he does algorithms, spreadsheets. So do you use Excel?
I love it.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't even know how I would describe it. First of all, I come at this whole angle from a very unsophisticated, like I used to. I came at this from like much more of like a sports bet. Like I'm a sports fan, fantasy football fan. I'm not like a huge techie guy. Like I'm not great at math. I'm not great at programming. But I came up so early that I really learned the ins and outs. And here, I just wanted to say this one thing. I think I'm just being a natural kind of like contrarian type, like person who doesn't like popular things and seeing like the chalk do well. It's like I never wanted the chalk to do well as like a thing. I just naturally became good at this because that's how you win in DFS, like in football especially. But in terms of like my actual process, like it's been very refined over the years. I've hired my own sort of little, like you said, Upwork type people to, create my own modeling and create my own, optimizer. And I run it all through basically just like a Google spreadsheet with a bunch of, scraped sources and stats and stuff like that.
The optimizer was not your choice, if I recall correctly. Didn't you have a little snafu with FC Dave?
Yeah, FC Dave. I was like the one, like probably like customer number one of Fantasy Cruncher. I really liked their product for a long time, but then there was too many limitations. It was too slow. So I got this guy to make something for me in R, but and then he said some bullshit about me. Like he was spreading all these bullshit rumors about me. Do you know Makasupa?
Yeah, Wiggins.
Yeah, me and him are good buddies, and like he was saying like the weird sharing accounts, and he was trying to like expose us to like because I went to his house once and he had his RIPs together. He's like, these guys are colluding together, and he was telling everyone. I'm like, fuck you, and so then he banned me from his site. I'm like, I don't even use your site, but yeah, that's all that went down. But I still use an optimizer.
So you've never like worked on a project with somebody?
What does that mean? Yeah, I have.
You have?
Yeah. I basically like have a guy who's like way smarter than me, or sorry, like with programming to like do all my ideas.
I mean, like a DFS player.
Yeah, I mean, he's a math guy. He's like a quant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've sort of leveraged. It's like a partnership almost in a way where it's like.
Is R your main stats program?
Yeah.
This is where Brian's going to pull off the mask, and he's actually FC Dave right now.
But actually, let's go woo, and like everyone's fucking mind blows.
I still have a lot of like of my old tricks in my system. Like, a lot of my game is still fairly I wouldn't call it feel based, but it's not like I do a lot. I spend a lot of times in my rosters every day, unfortunately. Because I'm never satisfied. I'm like a weird perfectionist that way. So I'm always tweaking random things here and there.
Like where you're not fully willing to just surrender to what the math says.
Yeah. Because I used to do that a lot. And I just get so frustrated when something either was obvious that I thought was obvious was wrong. Or, or just something that the model was telling me to do that I just in my gut disagreed with. So I started to just stop doing that, and it just ended up working well for me.
I had this thought the other day of like when the GTO bots were coming out playing against humans and stuff. One of the common memes was like, there's a lot of weird plays that the GTO bot's doing that we never would have thought of.
Yeah.
And I think if there was a GTO DFS solution, I don't think it would look like that. Like I don't think it's hard as poker and as far away from what we were able to do in the 2000s or whatever they're doing. I have no idea what they're doing now.
Well, what do you think of the general ceiling? I know we're running out of time here, but what do you think of the general like ceiling of skill? Let's call it like I personally consider poker 10 times more advanced than DFS, and I think we're approaching sort of the cap of skill in DFS. There's only so many inputs, projection, range, ownership, like it all works together, salary. But at some point you're sort of limited on what you can really do with this data.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's dead on. Maybe like let's say poker ended in 2011, like we're at like 2009, 2010.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's definitely something that will always remain popular, mostly because the field is so sort of exploitable and with ownership in big fields especially. And that will always kind of be there. But I don't know. The rest of it, it'll just keep going to get chiseled away slowly.
How about this as like a last question or one of the last questions? Yeah. What tip would you give to the young grinder out there who looks up to RikkiDee and wants to be a Millie winner?
Yeah. Honestly, just keep focusing on edges that you are sure that no one else or fewer people are thinking about. Like basically anything out there that's projection based or like something that a tout can tell you in an article, like here's a good, pitcher tonight. Something like that is like the opposite place you want to be looking. Like the edges in DFS are much more based in the margins of like thinking of range of outcomes potentially, or ownership is still a big edge depending on the sport, but really try to fine tune your process in edges that aren't, or correlations, like those sorts of things, even though although that's kind of getting washed away. It just continue to focus on edges that you're not really hearing too much about. I know that's kind of hard to do if you don't know what
you were going to say, bash your head against the wall till you get CTE.
Yeah, I mean that might help.
I mean, and that's like what you're describing is so much of why like tout service stay in business is because people either want their hand held or they want the confirmation bias of, oh, my idea is good. He said it was also good, but that means the edge is gone. So you have to be able to go out on a limb and be like, I think this writer has data to show there's an edge here. No one else might be talking about it, but I'm going to go out on that plank by myself. Yeah,
it's a scary place to be. But I will say wholeheartedly that anytime I've had a successful moment in DFS, it's because of something that is unique. Put it that way.
Yep. One more here from our friend Travis Petty on the same up and comer angle. Any players you're keeping an eye on here?
It's weird. In every year there seems to be a new hot baseball player, and this year for whatever reason it's Alhambra. I don't know where he is just destroying it. But as far as I can tell, he's never really been a high stakes guy before. So I mean, I've got the Periscope out. I'm watching everything he's doing. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with him. And
he did a stream with Blender.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, like a lot of times when these guys go on, like I'm not sure if they're sandbagging or what, but I wasn't like, holy shit, he's doing something crazy,
Right.
So, it might just be another hot run. It might just be, he's figured it out to a mainline level. I don't know, but he's probably the one I've been most impressed with.
All due respect, he's definitely running hot.
Yeah.
He's not good, not a winner, not one of the best. I'm not saying he's definitely fucking running hot.
Yeah. For sure.
It would be a show without Brian finding a way to cut a DFS player down.
I like him. We are friends and friends on Twitter. It's just a fucking fact. I've been gambling most of my fucking adult life. I know a heater when I see one.
Yeah.
Ricky, I know you're not much of a plug guy, but anything you want to shout out here as we wind down?
Now just shout out outdoors and 2020. The roaring 20s. We got to get back out living life. Fight the temptation to get on your phone and gamble more. The best thing that ever happened to us was that crypto crash. We can kind of get back to our lives.
We need to talk about that. I think if you ever come back, that should definitely be. Maybe we should try to think of some things that DFS bros should do outside of our normal crypto, NFT, blah, 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 gambling stuff.
I want to start like a little crypto bro retreat, like somewhere we all get together. It's like a little, kumbaya circle. We tell our bad beat stories and we figure out what to do with our life.
I can already see the photo I'm going to take of you teaching Osmo how to knit. It's just going to be an all-time photo. Well, thank you, Ricky, for coming on. It was a blast to talk to you. You're welcome to swing by. Maybe we'll get we've done some of those MMA live hangs before. Maybe we get the robot Osmo and you back, and we can hash it out.
Sounds good, man. I'll definitely be back.
All right, guys. We're here every Wednesday, audio up on the podcast feed. Thank you to Ricky. For Brian, I'm Pete. We'll see you guys next week.